Hello. There's nobody here. Okay, let's see if somebody shows up and see if this stupid thing is working again. I don't know what's happened. Hmm. Ah, okay. Hey, Thomas, can you hear me? Hi, Andrew. Can you hear me now? Is the sound working now? Still nothing. Ah. Hmm. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, good. Oh, great. All right. Sorry about that. That's odd. You can hear me okay. Okay, good. All right. Oh, good. I don't know what happened. I have as as long as you can, as long as the sound's working, it's not reverberating too much. Hi, Brian, Washington fan, cat toes. Okay, good. Finally, yeah. Hey, Mark. Okay. All right. Um, I really apologize for that. Okay, doke. So we were talking about what I want to talk about is prejudice and the number of prejudices that watch collectors often have are are numerous. Okay. Um, hang on a second. Yep. Okay, there. Um, and so I thought we could take a look at those today. Now, one I can tell you right off the bat for me, I have several. One, I just wouldn't spend a dime on a watch with a silicone hairspring. I know there are all kinds of good things about it and so on and so forth, but there's something about it I just not for me. I don't like chronographs, and it's one of the most popular complications around. Yeah. Invicta, yeah, you go back in time, Invicta. But so I know there are a lot of watches that excuse me, I just don't wanna have anything to do with, and they're not it's not the watch, it's usually something it's always something else. I know that, the other day, I got online, somebody, this one of these insane Rolex fans was this guy was nuts. I mean, he didn't understand how anything other than 4 hertz, 28,800 semi-oscillations per hour could be as good as his anything less than that could be as good as his roll-ups. And I was trying to explain why I preferred the lower frequencies. You end up sometime not liking a watch because of the person who's a watch fan. There's a lot about Rolexes that are perfectly good, but there's certain things about some of the fans that drive me up the wall. It's sort of like this Rolex is the best, and if you don't agree with that, then then they go nuts. But anyway, okay, so those are just a few of my many watch prejudices. And but some I understand, some I don't. I still like there's a lot of Rolexes that I still like from most of them are gone. Same thing with Patek Philippe in there, at least before 2009. Um, I'm wearing now the watch I'm wearing now is by Chanel, and this is something that if you tell most watch collectors, "Oh, you got a watch by Chanel," they'll go, "Oh, it's a fashion watch." And I suppose The, um that's, it's understandable because so many of them early on were they put in a cheap movement and so on and so forth. By the way, Thomas, your point is a good one. Uh, the va it's not value retention, it's price retention. A good watch never loses its value. What they lose is what or gain what is somebody will pay for them. Yeah, Koji, I know. I end up I'm probably more that way than I'll admit. That your point, Koji, is a good one. There's, I don't know, Tag Heuer gets so much hate. You know, the thing about Tag Heuer, it's not Tag Heuer's fault with me. It's Tag Heuer and Breitling. I used to think those were the best watches in the world when I used to fly because we'd come back and the FBO would have a little shop where they had where we got our airplanes. And they always had Tag Heuer and Breitling. And I thought they must be, because then they always had pictures of airplanes. So I thought they must be great. I found out that Tag Heuer was using ETA movements and really they're calling them something else. But then I came to like the Monaco a great deal. And so, Brightly, and I'm still not too crazy about that simply because they had done that. But other companies that I like have also done the same thing. And that's not be honest about what's inside. But that's not a prejudice. That's something look, a watch company can be transparent or not. But there are a number of my I know on people who love Tag Heuers, and it's good for them. Hi, Jean Luc. Okay, yeah, even if it's a FP Joint, I wouldn't buy a quartz watch. Yeah, if the price was right, I'd buy an FP Jordan quartz, but that's one of the few. Hey, James, any thoughts on Breitling BO1, BO2 movements? Yeah, the BO1 and the BO2 wasn't didn't they both do something together with Tudor? See, this is the thing about it is that it's sort of perhaps being you have past sins, so to speak, and like, wow, they did that at one time, so they're sort of they've lost their virginity somehow. But I don't know. I get it's sort of like this, is that if they don't being honest about one thing, how do you know if they're being honest about anything? And that's what bothers me a lot about it. Um, some watch companies are honest about everything, but they're such blowhards that you don't want to listen to them anymore. Oh, hang on, I think my stupid phone went off. There, I'm having a day. I tell you. um, yeah, Brightly. Yeah, the BO1 and the BO2. Those are by Brightly or Brightly and Tudor. I'm not sure what the deal is on that. Um, hey Brian, you got prejudice against Invicta. There's another one called Sterling or something like that. They sort of I sort of see them in Invicta. They're simply cheap watches. Is that's the way I look at it, I guess. I'm prejudiced against technology. Well, no, I'm not prejudiced against technology except the stupid microphone when it doesn't work. I can't get it working right. No, I didn't get cozy. I didn't get into mechanical watches so that somebody could add the new technology. If I wanted that, I go down to the Apple store and get an Apple smartwatch. I love that kind of technology. I used to program in it, but I like for 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 mechanical technology, I like everything mechanical about it. Yeah, uh, Sam's dad mustache. Um, yeah, Yerma is sort of a funny thing. I've heard good and bad things about Yerma, but I none of them were couched in terms of anything other than something working well or not working well. But yeah, this is where I think certain things become like an empirical question. Does it really are they really good as they claim to be? I don't know. Lately, just been working on my pin collection. Just picked up a Chopard with a deep discount. A Chopard pin. Okay. I love pins too. Here's my Pelican. I only have, I think, 3 or 4 decent pins. I love fountain pens, though. I have terrible handwriting to go with it. How many companies are fully vertical integrated today? That's a good question. That's a great question. And I think, from at least from all of the stuff I've done with Larique, I'm finding more and more of relationships existing. And so you have sort of another way to look at it. If you have somebody making expert parts, okay? Let me give you an example. The Strawman hairspring from H. Moser, actually, it's from Precision Engineering, which is owned by H. Moser. Uh, Kari Voutilainen watches use that hairspring. MB&F does, and so does Larique. So here you have a really good hairspring that's not part of the literal vertical integration, but part of a sort of set of relationships between the various parts makers. Now, given a an expertise in a certain area, wouldn't it be better to have the watchmaker? Well, of course, now our movement maker is Agenor, but they use parts from different companies. Now, whether that is, I mean, the movement they come out with, they create, they design it, they do this, they do that, and then they go to these different suppliers and say, okay, now we need a set of gears with these features to it. They go to precision engineering for their hairsprings and so forth. Now, to me, that is a certain kind of better sense than saying, "Well, we make everything ourselves." And a lot of the ones that say they make everything by themselves don't. So that's another thing you have to figure out. You take it, and is it really that necessarily that good? Where you have really good vertical integration, to me, is the Sandoz Family Foundation with Parmigiani, and then Vaucher and Otto Kalpa, and they got everything in their vertical organization, and they all make good stuff. And one of the ways that they make good stuff is that other watch companies are buying from them. For example, Otto Kalpa used to make the hairspring for Agenor, but they found that they liked the Strawman hairspring from H. Moser Precision Engineering better, and so they started using it. And these kinds of things, I think, sometimes our own prejudices, mine included, like, well, you have to have, if you're not doing it in house, you're really not being a true watchmaker. I don't know. What do you guys think? Mont Blanc is a Rolex of pins. Where did this where where did this go off the track? So beside when my sound wouldn't work. Okay, take a look at ST DuPont, better than Mont Blanc. Okay. Too many people are prejudiced towards smaller watches and are oftenly overly obnoxious and rude when someone proudly shows them their new sub 40 millimeter watch. Horses for courses. Hey, Andrew, I have never had anybody say anything about my bigger watch. I've got a, Roger Dubuis I have, that great big old sucker, looks like something you take to a bar fight, and yet it has a Geneva seal and all of these other things about it, plus one of the original Roger Dubuis movements, but I don't know. Oh, look at him, he's got that funny big watch. To me, a watch is, especially in my daughter age, I guess, is that, you wanna have something you can see, it's nice and clear. This one, s I gotta look at that one, give it a good look. Many people have prejudice against Invicta. Ironically, they currently own Glycine, which is a brand I like, and the heritage of coming out, the airman during the 1953. Yeah. Okay, a regular size watch. What's a regular size watch? And what happens is that if you look at some of these movies from the 1940s and 1950s, you see these guys with these little bitty watches. To me, they're just hard to read, and I think that women's watches, those little bitty things like that, are, they're not, they're more jewelry than timepieces. This is why I think, now, one of the most popular watches I see women with these great big, smart watches by Apple. Um, so, yeah. Yeah, yeah, my Harry Winston, there's a good one. The thing about Harry Winston was, Harry Winston was so well known as the jeweler for the stars. I think that's one of those brands that people thought, "Well, they can't be serious." But their annual opus and a lot of other things they did, and some of the people I know who worked for 'em at one time, both Roger Dubuis and, Jean-Marc Viderec were working making movements and, modules for Harry Winston. So, that I think is those things make it more interesting. Um, More recently, the watch that I reviewed last week, the, Dumoro, this to me, I had no prejudices against it because everything that the watchmaker said about it was true. I mean, he didn't call a Salida a in-house movement that he happened to do. Instead, not only did he tell you was, what it was, he told you the grade, it's the elaborate grade, and so, when you have that information and then the price, my god, I don't know how he could, build a watch that nice for that price, but it was like, 1,200 bucks for a really nice watch that, and again, he had a lot of design, power behind him, that he did the design and then they had it made by this Swiss company. I don't know. I I like, well, I like readable watches. This is a big watch, but, and I can see the hour, but the little other part, my retrograde minutes on it, I've gotta learn how to do it, learn how to, get it by sight. And that's sort of a funny thing because when it's right up here, that means oh boy, I see you do it like that. That means it's at the, half hour, and it comes around and does all kinds of stuff. Why do a lot of watch brands, even Carry Boot and Lana, don't use solid gold escape wheel? Um, I thought the steel version, didn't do as well. The oil dries up. I haven't heard that, to be the case, that the oil dries up. Do you have a prejudice against El Laurent for having such small movements? But but okay, Washington football fan, that was my first what I feel I got hornswoggled. I had a really a beautiful, El Laurent, and there was a little small movement in it, and I had been told it was a Frederic Breguet, but I found out that it was an ETA 7001. And yeah, I was mad at it for having this beautiful. I mean, it really was a beautiful watch. I traded it for a I traded it for a Christian Vanderclaw, and the Christian Vanderclaw had an ETA in it. I was I was just blah. But I tell you what I would like to see, and there's some really great El Laurent, now they just call themselves Laurent, watches with their own movements in it. I don't know what's happened to them. I really don't. They were bought by Festine. I thought, oh boy, Festine is going to invest big time in them. They're going to have some of the old wonderful ones they used to have. The very first Grand Prix, their watch won one of the things. I forgot which one it was, but they're a watch company that has such a historic name, and they nobody seems to know how to bring them back. The designs they have, some of the designs are some of the best looking designs I've seen. I have a term for people who seem to overly, fixate on watch size, but if they prefer large or small, size queens, size queens. I don't know. I, I really have a problem with under a certain size because I end up not wearing them. That's basically it. I had a wonderful, I suppose I was a size queen with, Patek Philippe. I had a wonderful Patek Philippe. It was an older Calatrava, kept beautiful time. It was a delight to wind up. It was all gold. It was just a really wonderful watch, but it was like 32 millimeters or something like that, 33, and it was just this little bitty watch, and so, anyway. Laird-Perrier versus Gronfeld. They're two different kinds, Kesselwitz. They have I mean, they're just very different styles. Style-wise, I like Laurent Perrier, but I think if there are 2 watches by Gronfeld that I think I'd rather have than any Laurent Perrier, so there you have it. The Groenfeld, Remontois is one, and the other one is their 1 Hertz. They got some amazing talent. Thomas, do you think that with age, as our eyes worse, we gravitate towards larger watches? You know, I don't know. That's one thing. I sort of been blessed with really great eyesight. I don't wear glasses except with computers and when I read, and terrible hearing. I got like, really bad hearing, but I got great eyesight, and it just was one of those things that happen. And I don't know if I do or not because I can't tell now if my eyesight really started getting bad. I don't know whether, maybe I'd get an Apple Watch and you can fix those things so you have these great big numbers. I don't know. I think, yeah, that may be true, Vincent, to some extent. Thank you, Andrew. Uh, Pécanet Rue Royale, such a good watch. Is it okay for Cartier to use some plastic movement holders in watch costing up to $5,000? Cartier is another one of those funny brands, watch-wise. They, they're owned by Richemont, and so Richemont, oh, I'm not sure what they are. There's a Cartier mono pusher, forgot the whole name of it, and it has a THA movement in it, and this was the company that was founded right before, I think it was founded in, like, 1998 or 1999, right before all of these, which are now great watchmakers like FP Journe and, Vianney, Halter started their own watch company. By the way, too, um, Andreas Steller's new watch, the Sentra or Senna, that one just was that was recently released. I didn't realize that because there were so many really good things that Andreas Steller had in other people's watches, that I just assumed that he had his own company, but I mean, for watchmaking, but he doesn't. Just like Agenor. Agenor makes all these great movements and makes things for different companies, but they don't have their own watch. I guess Larique is the closest that they have to that because they do the assembly for us and everything. Roger Smith's watches only in, yeah. Yeah, we can go a little longer today, Andrew, because I screwed up. But thanks anyway for the frying pan warning. What are some other prejudices that we may hold, either good or bad? If there's something about a watch I like, even though it's crummy, I'll probably still like it. Like Gerald Genta, some of the stuff that he put together, they slapped some things in there that I'm not too sure about. Is Gerald Genta the best watch designer of all time? I don't know. Um, the thing I liked best about Genta was the not necessarily, well, I like it too, the, Royal Oak, I love that watch, and the, Nautilus, but some of the other ones, the ones with, retrograde, and they had a lot of different things like that, and so, I don't know if he's the best one of all time, but he's certainly a very good one. I can't think of another designer, a watch designer that has his reputation. That's really interesting that you brought that up. I recently got a JLC master calendar, nice watch, and can't find a serial number. I'll make one up. I don't know where you'd find it. When I had my, overseas, I went to the, Vacheron Constantin boutique in, New York City, and they had a watchmaker there, and he was doing stuff. He had to almost, disassemble the entire watch to find the movement number on it. So, excuse me. So, Jaeger-LeCoultre may have one that's not easy to find. Swiss watches over Japanese watches. Um I I would agree. When it comes to really top watchmakers, though, uh, I don't think anybody would stick their nose up at Jaime Ahsoka, for example. I think there's a guy and Laurent Perrier or Kari Vuitton or FP Journe. I mean, he's not because he's he's Japanese, it's just his watches are so spectacularly good in a certain way. I think the same thing may be true for the Chinese, and it may also be true for other non-Swiss. But yeah, you're right. That can be a prejudice. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, no, I think the thing is, you take German watches, and you have companies like Moritz Grossmann, um, Marco Lang and Hein, which is sort of a weird thing, A Lange. So you have some of these really top drawer ones. Then if you look at the Swiss watches, you down to a pretty much smaller group compared to these monster brands that they also have. I and then when you look a lot of the German brands, they have Swiss movements in them, which is something that I've always like, come on, you guys, it, you know, you could get some guys to develop some really great movements. Okay. All right. Now I'm way overdue, but yeah, let me apologize about the way everything started off here. Hey, James, they only had to be 60% to be called Swiss. Even the USA has a higher standard. Yeah, James, I don't think if a watch says Swiss built, Swiss made, I think it's who made it. I mean, what Swiss company made it? Um, even if it says that. So I don't know of a Swiss watch that I could say, "Oh, this is Swiss made because it's 60% Swiss." I just don't know of any. Okay, Koji, you're prejudiced against all integrated bracelet sports watches. Familiarity bred contempt. Now, Koji, would that include the H. Moser Streamliner? To me, that's another one of the Streamliners watch I'd really like to have. Thomas, do you think that people are prejudiced against Chinese watchmakers because of the amount of cheaper watches that come out of China that are yeah, probably so. I'll tell you, if you want to find out some good Chinese watchmakers, go to AHCI, the Independent Watchmakers Group. They have some top-notch Chinese watchmakers. There was this one guy that seemed like he just would make movements all over the place. He'd take a on his lunch break, he'd invent a new movement. This guy really incredible. So I thought, oh boy, here's this guy. Maybe he didn't, maybe he doesn't appreciate the value of his skills. Well, that wasn't true. First watch he came out with was something like $30,000. Just yeah, yeah. Okay, you better, Koji. We're gonna send the boys after you. Some people like extreme letters, some don't. I have exactly one watch. I got yeah, just one watch that has a metal bracelet. None of the other ones do. And it's a Parmigiani Colpa, a great big ol that's another big old watch. And the thing is, like, I could use it for, instead of having a weight, I just put on my Colpa and go like that. I really like their bracelet. My, overseas, had a bracelet, and the very first Vacheron Constantin overseas had a bracelet that would pop open all the time, and I'd be going down and doing stuff with my overseas. The old bracelet would pop open. I just slap it shut and go on my merry way. Uh, I don't know. I really like bands. Gator bands are probably my favorite. Uh, No, that's just my own. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I better see if I can unpack my stuff. Hi, Robert. Is there a price you have paid for a watch that makes you uncomfortable for to wear in public? Good question, Robert. This watch right here, um, most people would look at it, or most thieves would look at it, and as soon as they saw Chanel, they'd say, you know, it's a fairly expensive watch, so I can't tell the difference between white gold and stainless steel and platinum. This one's white gold, and so it's an expensive watch, but I don't worry about wearing it in public. Now, on the other hand, my FP Journe, Resonance, my god, that thing went up so much in price. That one may give me a little pause, but I do it, for the most part because, the ones ironically, the ones that are you're most likely to have half your wrist taken off for would be a Rolex. Some guy is wearing his Rolex, minding his own business, and some thief try to come and get it. On the other hand, this is, originally a $40,000 watch. They're not, that. It's Chanel. Certain Again, taking advantage of every prejudice. You could wear most FP Journes and people wouldn't know what they were, including thieves. Well, if they're a smart watch thief, you'd be in big trouble. Yeah. Yeah, happy Father's Day. Father's Day's tomorrow. Um, Now, Brian, I know there may be more Father's Days you're having than you realize, huh? That's what the rumor is. Okay, leather straps are underappreciated in my opinion. They're just comfortable. That's Vincent. That's what I like about them. They're just comfy. That's really the only reason. Spotters in the bar. Okay, all right, all right, guys. Listen, yes, all of you fathers have a great Father's Day, and everyone take care.